Hello, welcome back to Bounty and Soul's Plant Powered Kitchen. My name is Lyric. I am here today to talk about dandelion greens and all of their amazing virtues. This is a big bunch of dandelion greens that we purchased from Beacon Village Farms. They're down in Old Fort and they sell through New Sprout Organic Farms, which is a distributor that distributes organic produce from lots of different farms in our region, and they distribute the food all over the East Coast. So this is a cultivated variety of dandelion leaf. Cultivated meaning it's been bred to have certain characteristics, like in this case be really, really big. These are fairly large dandelion leaves, larger than you would find in, say, your yard if you went looking for dandelion. So essentially the entire dandelion plant is edible, the roots and the leaves and the flowers, but it has fallen into this category that we have created called weeds. And weeds are seen as a nuisance, right? But really dandelion and a lot of other plants that we consider weeds are actually completely edible, first of all, and also deeply and highly nutritious. And they've been foods traditionally for different groups of people for a very long time. So the first thing you might notice about the dandelion greens is that they're bitter. If you rip off a little piece and chew it up in your mouth, you'll get a really bitter flavor. And this is something you might not be used to because we have essentially erased bitter taste in kind of the standard American diet, but bitter foods are so important for our health. What happens when you eat a bitter food is that bitter flavor profile and those bitter compounds trigger certain digestive enzymes, saliva in your mouth, and also all the way through your digestive tract and in your stomach. You've got fluids all along the way, and the bitter quality of foods like dandelion greens can help to activate fluids that are going to help you digest your food more easily, help you to derive the nutrition out of your food, and help to create a really healthy gut environment, which is directly linked to your mind, your brain. So there's lots of studies showing that increased bitters in your diet can help reduce stress, it can help increase energy, because you're strengthening that mind-gut connection with really stimulating and gut-boosting foods. Other foods that are bitter are foods like certain types of brassicas, foods in the brassica family like broccoli, cabbage, kale, and even foods like coffee. Naturally, coffee and cacao naturally have a really bitter quality, and we just tend to add a lot of sugar to them, which actually reduces or completely eliminates that bitter food being able to stimulate your digestive system in the way that's going to benefit you the most. Dandelions also provide a lot of fiber. They have vitamin A, which helps promote healthy vision, vitamin C, and vitamin K, which promotes blood and bone health, amongst many other attributes. So how do we enjoy and eat dandelion greens? You can eat them raw or cooked. I personally prefer them cooked. Cooking can remove a little bit of that bitter flavor. But remember, if you're removing the bitter flavor that you're tasting, you're also going to be removing a lot of those benefits. So if you're really not used to eating super bitter foods, that's totally okay. It makes a lot of sense. And you can kind of ease yourself into it. So the more you cook the greens, the less bitter they'll be. And so when you start exploring your relationship with dandelion greens, you could cook them longer, and then maybe a little bit less and a little bit less the next time, and you can kind of build and acquire a taste for bitter foods, because like I said, most of us are not used to eating bitter foods. I encourage you to go find dandelion greens, forage for them for yourself, find them growing on the land. Some considerations if you're going to forage dandelion greens, you want to be only harvesting plants in areas that you know haven't been sprayed. This is especially pertinent to dandelion because it tends to grow in grassy areas or lawns. So you don't necessarily want to be harvesting from lawns that you don't know how they've been managed. Those sprays are going to be on the surface and absorbed by the greens, and you don't want to eat that. And a general tip with any foraging, even if it's something common and in abundance like dandelion, is you don't want to take all of what's there. You always want to leave some to continue growing and propagating new plants. And my third tip is that you always want to be really sure about your identification, so that you're not accidentally eating something that's not edible. Overall, you can use it just as you would another dark leafy green. So you could saute it, you could steam, boil, you can make dandelion chips baked in the oven. You can add them to soups or stews, into stir fries. If you're really bold and you really like bitter, you could add them raw into a smoothie. Maybe you would be able to balance some of that bitter flavor with some other smoothie ingredients. I'm going to hop into the kitchen real quick and show you how to blanch dandelion greens. But one consideration before you cook a recipe like the one in the description of this video, you may want to start off eating a small quantity of dandelion greens. The bitterness and their medicinal qualities, it can be really strong if you've never had them before. So some people get a stomach ache if they eat like a lot of dandelion greens for their first time. I'm gonna cook my dandelion greens by blanching them. So that just means dunking them into boiling water and then removing them after not too long and running cool water or ice water over them. So I have my big dandelion greens. I'm gonna just rip them in half. And I like stems like this. If you don't like those really thick stems, you could definitely compost them. I personally like them, but this is where a lot of that bitterness hides in the stems. So I'm gonna just blanch them in the boiling water and not cook them too long so that I don't remove all of the bitter quality, right? Because we wanna keep some of that. These have been in here about 30 seconds. I'm gonna go ahead and remove them. Add them to my colander, and then I'll run cool water over them in the sink. Still has that bitter quality that you're going for, but it's not so much that it might be overpowering for folks that aren't used to that bitterness. So all you need to do now that you've blanched these is saute up some onion and garlic in a pan, and then you can just throw these in right towards the end when the onion and garlic are fully cooked. And you have a delicious saute. The full recipe will be in the link for this video. You can find more recipes about dandelion greens and almost all of the foods we give out at market on our website, bountyandsoul.org/recipe. I'll link that in the description of this video too. You want to store these in your fridge. Another tip with cut greens like this that have stems that are cut really evenly is you could actually store it by putting it in a vase of water, kind of like a bouquet, and then these greens are going to be pulling up that water, and it's going to keep them from wilting. It's going to keep them nice and fresh. I'd love to see what you create with your dandelion greens. Feel free to leave comments or photos below and get in touch if you have any questions.